On the delegation issue, I heard messaging from the administration earlier this week explaining, that the U.S. abstaining from that UN vote and allowing it to go through didn't really matter because it was a non-binding resolution. But if it doesn't really matter, why not vote no again and avoid this whole fallout with Israel, because it obviously mattered to them. And so I guess where I'm coming from is, how did we get here? What caused this, and is it politics?
So look, the principles of the deal were there, right? It talked about a ceasefire. It talked about hostages, which we believe the principles were there. But we believe the only path forward to a ceasefire is to negotiate a hostage deal, a hostage release as well, right? We believe those two things are both important, and to do that together. And so this
vote didn't do that, though. It didn't condition them.
Well, that's not how we saw it, right? And so we have long said a ceasefire will not be achieved in the Security Council, but through diplomacy on the ground. That's what we have said. We have to see that diplomacy on the ground. And so the resolution, as you just stated in your question, is non-binding and does not create new obligations under the international law, such as what the Council does when it imposes obligatory sanctions. But nevertheless, that shouldn't matter. Even though the resolution lacks the binding provision, all Security Council resolutions carry great weight and should be implemented. In this case, however, it is irrelevant whether the resolution imposes any new legal objections, as the text demands exactly what the United States has long been pushing. We want both a hostage deal and a ceasefire, making sure that humanitarian aid gets in, and that's what we want to see. That's why we believe the principles were right, but we didn't feel like it did exactly where we stand on our policy.
It wasn't nothing. The U.S. has blocked previous votes from going through that looked exactly like this. So what caused the shift, and what is the president's reason for allowing this to go through? It is a change.
No, it is not. It is not a policy change. We've been very clear. We disagree. We've been very clear that in order to get a hostage deal that would lead to a ceasefire, we also got to get that humanitarian aid. We believe it is all connected in that way. And so that is where we stood. That's where we've been. It is not a policy change. The principles were there, but we have a way that we want to do this, right? A hostage deal, those are the critical conversations that are happening, the active conversations that are happening, making sure that we get those hostages home. American hostages are also included to their loved ones. We also got to get that humanitarian aid, and we believe that diplomatic effort, the diplomacy, the diplomatic work that is being done would lead us to that. And so we've been very clear and steadfast about this, and that's where we're going to continue to be.
This is linked to the president worried about losing support from Gen Z,
well, let me be very clear. This is not about politics. It's not. The president does not lead his national security or things that are the right thing to do in this sense, right? Getting that hostage deal, making sure hostages come home, including, as I said over and over again, American hostages, getting that humanitarian aid into Gaza and making sure that we believe that would lead to a ceasefire. That is not about politics. That is about the right thing to do. This is why we continue those active conversations and making sure that we can get there. It is important to get this done. Go ahead.